Hi friends, welcome to the channel. Here you will find fascinating videos on a variety of topics. Subscribe and stay tuned. Buttons history. How do you answer the question? What do Grandpa's military tunic, pillowcase, little sister's dress have in common? It's the buttons. The word button sounds interesting in different languages. In Japanese it is netsuke, although this word is more familiar for a kind of art. Italian, bottone, Spanish baton, bud, budding bud, German, Knopf, in Dutch kapoor, have the meaning bump, bulge, top. Compare with the word button, meaning a type of clasp. In ancient times, people used to fasten their clothes together with various animal bones, small sticks, and plant spines. In ancient Egypt, buckles were already used, or one piece of clothing was put through a hole made in another, or the ends were simply tied together. The oldest buttons and button-like objects were used as decoration rather than for fastening and were found in India. They were made about 5,000 years ago. Buttons were appreciated only in the Middle Ages, when suits cut and sewn exactly to the figure became fashionable. They could not be worn without tearing them open. Therefore, fashionable women had to wait until the clothes were sewn directly on the figure before going out into the world, and after the same long time to free themselves from the shackles of beauty. The most popular materials in the closet of wealthy people then were brocade, velvet, silk, fabrics, expensive, and not too elastic. If you make a narrow outfit from them, tightly encircling the figure, there is a problem. It is technically impossible to put it over the head. Therefore, quite quickly, the traditional tunic is shortened to the knees, sewn at the waist, and cut in front. A camisole appears. But this is only half of the job. Fastening the edges of the camisole with pins, the fashionista inevitably traumatized the expensive fabric, especially since it was still under tension due to the narrow cut. That's when someone's bright head came up with the idea to make holes, i.e. loops, a permanent element of the costume, of course, along with buttons. The button was first used as a clasp in Germany around the 13th century. Buttons then quickly spread throughout Europe and were used to make tight-fitting garments. True works of art appeared. Using a special glaze, artists painted buttons with brightly colored pictures. The more noble and richer was a person, the more buttons there were to be. It is known, for example, that the French king Francis I once ordered a jeweler 13,600 small gold buttons for finishing only one velvet suit. Peter the Great ordered to sew buttons on the front side of the sleeve of the soldier's uniform for one purpose: to save expensive cloth, not allowing yesterday's peasants to wipe their nose or mouth with the sleeve after eating. The devastating effect of the Russian frost on Napoleon's soldiers was aggravated by the fact that their clothes were literally falling off. Tin buttons crumbled in the frost. In severe frosts, below -13-15 degrees Celsius, tin turned to powdery modification. Buttons crumbled. In 1798, during Napoleon's Egyptian campaign, his soldiers often returned from the bazaar in unbuttoned uniforms. They paid with buttons. In 1877, as one of the fashion magazines of the time put it, women went button crazy. In 1877, in the words of one of the fashion magazines of the time, women went button mad. Interestingly, until the 18th century, about 70% of all buttons made were for men's clothing, while ladies preferred secret hooks, brooches, hairpins, and pins. 15th century is called the Golden Age of buttons. Then their variety was limitless. Gold, silver, pewter, steel, brass, glass, horn, ivory, mother of pearl, tortoiseshell, enamel, and wood were used for production. Almost until the end of the 19th century, buttons were such an expensive commodity that they were restitched from one garment to another. A fur coat could cost less than the buttons placed on it. One such button could buy a house. The development of technical progress, the emergence of new and inexpensive materials made it possible for everyone to use buttons. In the 20s of the 20th century, buttons made of bakelite plastic, called the material of 1,000 possibilities, were the most widespread. That's it! Thank you for watching the rest of this. If you liked the video, don't forget to rate and subscribe.